Hello friends, today we will discuss the mode of action for the sulfonylureas like glimepiride, gliclazide, glimepiride. Friends, as you are aware, whenever the blood glucose level increases in your blood, like it may increase after having a food, immediately the blood glucose level is being sensed by the organ named pancreas, and with the help of insulin, the blood glucose level is lowered. Within a pancreas, there is a specific cells named beta cells which produces insulin, and insulin reduces the blood glucose levels. The beta cell has a specific structures with it. The first is the potassium channel. This potassium channel is ATP sensitive potassium channel. Why is it ATP sensitive? Because if the ATP, that is the adenosine triphosphate, the energy form of our body, if it increases within the beta cell, it closes down this channel. So it's ATP sensitive potassium channel. What is the role of this channel? It helps in efflux of the potassium. That means it's taking the potassium out of the cell. So ATP sensitive potassium channel takes the potassium out of the beta cell. The another is a calcium channel. Now this calcium channel is voltage dependent. What does it mean? Voltage dependent means the channel remains open when the inner environment of the cell is positive. This is known as a depolarization. If the environment is negative, the calcium channel closes. What is the role of a calcium channel? It helps in taking a calcium from outside into the cell. That means influx of the calcium. The third important structure is insulin granules. Beta cells releases the insulin. From where this insulin is been released? It is with the help of insulin granules, which is acting like a storage of the insulin. The fourth is the GLUT. GLUT stands for glucose transporter, which helps in the glucose entry into the beta cell. Now, let us assume that your blood glucose level is normal or a blood glucose level is low. When the glucose is low, the glucose does not enter through the GLUT into the cell. If a glucose does not enter, that means the energy production, that is the ATP, remains on a lower side. So if the ATP is low, it does not block the potassium channel. Remember friends, I said this potassium channel is ATP sensitive. That means if the ATP is high, it will block this channel. But for now, glucose is low, nothing enters into the cell, ATP production is low. The low ATP, it does not block the potassium channel. So potassium channel remains open, and the potassium which is there within the cell, it keeps moving out through the channel. So potassium is keep moving out, and the environment within the cell remains negative. Alright, so potassium was a positively charged ion. Positivity decreases since the potassium has been moved out of the cell. So the environment within the cell is negative. Since there is a negative environment, you can see the calcium channel only remains open if the environment is positive. But now there is no positivity. Potassium is all out of the cell. It's all a negativity inside the cell. This is known as hyperpolarization. The inside environment is negative. Hyperpolarization leads to closure of the calcium channel. So no calcium can come from outside to inside. Calcium entry, influx of a calcium is very important for release of the insulin. So since the calcium is not coming out, insulin is not released. So this is what the situation when the blood glucose level is low. When a blood glucose level is low, anyways, the amount of that requirement of insulin is really less, and insulin is anyways not secreted. Now, Let us assume another scenario where your blood glucose level been elevated. When your blood glucose is elevated, the glucose now starts entering through the glut into the beta cell. Now, this glucose which is there in a beta cell is responsible for production of more and more ATPs. Now, ATP level increases. Again, I'm reiterating, this potassium channel is ATP sensitive. Now the level increases, that means the ATP will go and block the potassium channel. Once your potassium channel is blocked, so the release of the potassium from the cell into the blood outside of the cell is stopped. Now potassium cannot move outside, so potassium level within the cell increases. Potassium is a positive ion. Since the positive ion potassium increases, so positivity inside the cell increases, the process named depolarization. With the depolarization, now what happens, since I said the calcium channel is voltage dependent, that means if the positivity increases, the calcium channel remains open. So now what happens, that the calcium channel opens up. Since the calcium channel opens up, the calcium starts coming inside, and as I said, once the calcium starts coming inside, the insulin starts releasing into the blood from the insulin granules. Once the insulin goes into the blood, it starts declining the glucose levels. So this is how insulin release helps in declining the glucose levels. So this is how the body works, right? So it is very important to understand, you have to block the potassium channel with the help of ATP if you want a calcium channels to remain open, because a blocking of a potassium channel ensures more potassium remains inside the cell, positivity increases. With the positive environment, a calcium channel remains open, the calcium starts coming in and the insulin starts moving out. When you have a diabetes, your blood glucose level anyways is on higher side, so you take medications, that is sulfonylurea. Now what sulfonylurea does, any sulfonylurea, whether it is glimepiride, gliclazide, glibenclamide, glimepiride, what do they do is they go and block the potassium channel. The same way the ATP block the potassium channel, it also blocks the potassium channel. So your glimepiride, gliclazide has blocked the potassium channel like your ATP has done. Now the channel is blocked, that means potassium exit is prevented. Potassium accumulate within the cell, there is a depolarization, that is the positivity within the cell increases. With the positivity or a depolarization, calcium channel opens, more and more calcium comes in, more and more insulin goes out, and this insulin ensures the reduction of blood glucose. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share if you found it useful.